What's that? Welcome. All right, is this thing on? Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Check. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm gonna see if I can make this a little taller, because the chairman is tall. Team, is this all the way extended? Maybe. Oh, I hear myself a little bit better. There we go. All right. This is one of the challenges of running for Senate and being 6'4" is sometimes I run into a mic that's way too small. But look, thank you all for being here. I want to thank Pauline Lee. You've just been such a faithful supporter, an activist. You are doing so much here for us. Jill Douglas, you have gone from being an activist, someone who just works grassroots, to now you've got your name on the ballot as well. Thank you for joining in the fight, and a special thanks to all of you who make these campaigns happen. I know it's my name on the signs, my name on the ballot, but this is not really my campaign. This is our campaign. So thank you for being here and just being a part of this important mission. And lastly, Chairman Daines, Steve Daines from Montana, has been our fearless leader for us Republican candidates in these battleground states. It's a real honor to welcome him to Nevada today, as he has many places that he could be. And so I just want to introduce Senator Steve Daines from Montana, and with his remarks.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm wearing my Montana sport coat here this morning, but glad to have you all join us. And my wife, Cindy, and I, Cindy's over here, are very glad to be in Las Vegas today. Look, as Captain Sam Brown mentioned, there's a lot of places I could be today. We've got big Senate races across the country, big races in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Maryland, Montana, Ohio, Arizona. We're going to win West Virginia. That race is over. Yeah. So that takes us to 50-50. We need the 51st seat that will support President Trump, work with President Trump, who is going to win Nevada. Sam Brown has an amazing story. When I first got to meet Captain Sam Brown and Captain Amy Brown, I first heard that story. Sam Brown graduates from West Point in 2006, a Ranger as well. He goes to serve his country battling terrorists in Afghanistan and is nearly blown up by the Taliban through an IED in Afghanistan. He survives that, airlifted back to San Antonio, Texas, to the burn unit, and this sweet dietitian and support staff member named Amy Brown, when Sam's fighting for his life, literally eating through a feeding tube wrapped in mummy bandages. And these two Army heroes fall in love. It's a great story. Their first date was at a rodeo in Texas. As a Montanan, that warms my heart. But Sam Brown knows what adversity is all about. And the reason I'm here today, because we're watching this race here in Nevada tighten up here at the very end. Look, it's no secret. The polls have been showing Sam running behind for several months, being massively outspent in resources. The reason I'm here, and the reason there's a lot of resources now pouring into Nevada in the last 10 days, is because this race is surging in the direction of Sam Brown. We are excited by what we are seeing in our internal polling. And I know the other side's seeing that because they're pushing massive resources in here as well. The Republicans are moving a lot of big resources in here too, because now Sam Brown has got this race One poll we saw in the last 3 days, we see it tied right here in Nevada. Look at the early vote numbers in Nevada. We've not seen numbers like this since 2014. As of this morning, a 38,000 vote advantage with Republican voters. And when you see that enthusiasm, that excitement, that intensity, prognosticators usually will say independent voters probably will follow more of where the surge is occurring than not, which means you're seeing the polls tighten up, and why in the next 7 days, this race, we think, now just became one of the tightest races in the country, and that's why I am here. Go back to 2022, just 2 years ago. There was only one state where there was a Republican governor pickup. Of all the governor's races in 2022, it was Nevada, when Nevadans elected your great former sheriff and now Governor Joe Lombardo. I was going back and forth with Governor Lombardo. Yesterday is always a good idea when you go to another governor's state to let them know you're in town. So I wanted to know we were proudly here in Las Vegas, and he's excited about where this race is headed right now for Sam Brown. So the momentum is on Sam Brown's side. And one thing about Sam Brown, the secret with Sam Brown is this is a twofer. It's Sam and Amy Brown. Amazing couple, both American warriors, American war heroes. And I am grateful to be here with Sam today. And I will tell you, between now and Election Day, with all the states out there that I could be visiting, I will be back in Nevada again before Election Day. So I want to turn this back over to Captain Sam Brown himself. Captain.
Well, look, as one of our local journalists, who some of you probably know, John Ralston likes to say, Nevada matters. And I think when you see the chairman of the senatorial committee coming in, when President Trump was here just last Thursday, he's going to be here again this coming Thursday. When we had Chairman Whatley as well as co-chairman Laura Trump in town today, Nevada is living up to its name of being a battle-born state. Yep. We are a battleground state, and this race, I'll put it to you this way, I'd much rather be in our position than in Senator Rosen's position. We have got the momentum. The issues are on our side. Nevadans have been really hurt by the economic downward pressure that this Biden administration has put on people. When we're spending $1,200 a month more now than we were 4 years ago on just the essentials, that's shameful. When I talk to seniors who've had to leave retirement and go back and get a job just to make ends meet, that's shameful. Yeah. When we're paying almost double what we were paying for gas 4 years ago now, that's shameful. When our border crisis has been managed and allowed by our vice president, our current vice president, and we have a senator and Jackie Rosen who sits on the Homeland Security Committee and provides no pushback on things that we would consider common sense, that's shameful. It's disappointing that our leaders, the people who are supposed to represent us and our interests, fail to recognize what is common sense. And most recently, we've seen another test of common sense with the University of Nevada at Reno's women's volleyball team. These young ladies found out that they were going to be put in a game against a biological male. And they took the courageous stand to say that they were not going to play that game. And when Senator Rosen was asked about this, which she has a voting record on, she said that she would rather defer to local administrators to make a determination on whether or not this ought to be allowed. The biological male should be allowed to compete against women. And this was in the midst of our debate, of which I noted to her, just privately on the side, it's amazing. We finally found the first thing that Senator Rosen would rather the federal government not be involved in. But look, Senator Rosen has been a disappointment. It's disappointing when her neighborhood has more security with guards, fences, and gates than our border. It's shameful when she would say that she doesn't believe that members of Congress should be able to trade, buy or sell stock, and yet for 6 years she failed to disclose that she managed a trust fund worth $15 million and that her net worth has gone up 61%, while so many Nevadans are just trying to figure out how to make ends meet. But fortunately, elections are our tool for replacing leaders who've disappointed us. And we are 1 week away from victory. We have got the momentum. Republicans are turning out. Independents are breaking for us. And you all have delivered this victory. So thank you. Now at this time, the chairman and I will take questions from the press. And
Dana Gentry from the Nevada Current. During your debate, you said that former President Trump's deportation plan would be a massive logistic undertaking and that you could start with criminals. But do you support his deportation plan, a massive deportation plan?
I mean, look, again, let's talk about where we started. We got to start with securing the border. That is the fundamental issue, is that we don't have a secure border. President Trump had built miles and miles of secure border wall that was stopped by this administration. He had a Remain in Mexico policy that was reversed by this administration. We start by securing that border, equipping our border patrol, our law enforcement officers to be able to do their job. And yes, when we have 13,000, almost 14,000 convicted murderers, when we have people who have been convicted of physical and sexual assault, yeah, we immediately begin to deport those people. If you've been convicted of trafficking drugs, you need to be deported immediately, and we'll leave the rest of how that gets done for further discussion.
So do you not support this next deportation plan?
I'm saying that I'm telling you where we need to start, and we're talking about a massive logistical undertaking that I can't give you all the details on how that would occur.
Captain, you said during our debate that you were very clear on your stance on abortion, that you were steadfast in Nevada's law for 24 weeks. Senator Daines proposed a 15-week abortion ban with exclusions for if there's incidents of rape and incest. If Senator Daines came to you and said, we need you as our 50th or 51st vote, how would you vote?
I would not vote for that. And let me be very clear, because this is both a legislative question as well as a personal question. I have always said I will not vote for a national abortion ban. Never have I said that I would vote for a national abortion ban. And this is an issue that has become extremely politicized. Many of you probably know that my wife, Amy, prior to us meeting, went through a very traumatic relationship that ended with her having an abortion. And that, in the same way that I was going through a recovery from wounds that were very external, she was recovering from her own wounds in that. And this is something I don't think we should overly politicize. It's clear that we're not going to have a national abortion ban. I stand with Nevada's law, respect Nevada's law. I believe in exceptions for rape, incest, and threat to the life of a mother. But bigger picture, we need to support women who find themselves in an unexpected pregnancy. And it doesn't always just impact the mom necessarily. We're talking about families as well. And so I think that we need more leadership that is empathetic and looking for ways to support women and families in these situations.
I appreciate your answering that. We know that there's momentum on your side. We've seen that the past week, probably post-debate. Speaking to voters, there are voters who I've spoken with who are very pro Vice President Harris who say, I'm going to vote for Sam Brown. What do you say to get more of those people who aren't necessarily supporting former President Trump, but see you as change, just like they view the Vice President?
One, I would just say I appreciate their vote of confidence. It's I think that's a testament to who I am. Look, you got to remember, I come from my very origins are being a military member. There's not politics in the military. It's mission first. It's one of the reasons that kind of our motto is duty first. The full motto is no mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great, duty first. And so, yes, we talk about partisan issues. Republicans and Democrats tend to disagree on certain policy ideas, but largely speaking, I'm running for all Nevadans. And so if someone is saying that they're willing to vote for me, regardless of who else they're voting for, I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that they see something in me that resonates, that gives them hope and optimism. Because right now, largely what I see as I talk to folks is people feel like the American dream is slipping away. And if I through my background and my leadership and the things that I would want to lead on and propose, give someone that sense of hope, then I'd say that's we need more of that in politics. Less of the kind of the stuff that we've been used to.
Captain Mark Kellner from the New York Post. 2 questions, briefly. Number one, have you contemplated how you would work with Senator Cortez Masto, who is and would be the senior senator from this state? And number 2, what do you perceive as your greatest challenge if you are elected and go to the Senate?
Yes, I've thought about working with Senator Cortez Masto quite a bit. In fact, we have a cordial relationship. I don't see her often, but when we do see each other, we greet each other warmly. We both have each other's cell phone numbers. I can't say the same is true with Senator Jackie Rosen, but look, I think that with Senator Cortez Masto, she's proven that she wants to do what's best for Nevada in many cases. I look forward to working with her, and in some ways, I think that it's probably healthy to have representatives from both parties in a purple state like Nevada, because there's going to be times that we're going to need Democrats to help rally on certain issues, and Senator Cortez Masto can hopefully lead on that. And so I look forward to working with her. And what was your second question?
What do you perceive as your greatest challenge going into the Senate should you be elected?
I think one of my greatest challenges is that we never know what we're going to have 2 years later after an election. So come January, we know what we've got. Who's president, who's controlling the Senate, who's controlling the House, and you can begin to prioritize what you're doing. There's things that I really want to prioritize for Nevada, and like lands bills, for example. Water is a major issue. I think that we need someone in Nevada who's willing to push back against California. Nevada ought to be celebrated for the way we conserve water. We are the leader in the West on water conservation. And when people like Senator Jackie Rosen tell us we just need to do better on conservation, instead of saying, hey, maybe others should start to follow our example, I think that's the wrong emphasis. And so I think my greatest challenge is, can I, within a short window of time, be able to get things done for Nevada, stepping in that I would love to, and that's one of the reasons why I've been thrilled to be able to build a relationship with folks like Chairman Daines and begin to talk about some of those issues in advance of even winning an election.
Senator Daines is here supporting you today, obviously. The RNC chairman, Michael Watley, was here on Friday, and I had the chance to speak with him, and he said, we're taking money out of House races here, we're putting them into Sam Brown, all to Sam Brown. What does that mean to you personally, knowing that so many people are now sort of elevating you in this race, and that maybe when the polls showed that there was a wider margin between you and Senator Rosen now, that is tightening? What does that say to you personally? What does that mean to you?
When people trust you, and this is something that I've had the honor and the privilege of having people trust me for years, ever since I graduated from West Point. It's something you never take for granted, and I've had the burden of having to lead when lives are on the line, and I think it's something that's lost on on a lot of folks when you're talking about politics, because I mean, we all see the ads. You know, you end up kind of talking about one or two, three things maybe. But what gets lost is when someone is elected to office, we are entrusting Americans' lives to them, much like in the military. It's slightly different, but people are entrusting me to be a good steward of American lives, American resources, their families. That's something that is extremely humbling to me, and I don't take that for granted. I also have a burden of a responsibility to make sure that my actions, my campaign, supports those beneath us on the ballot as well. And that's why I encourage everyone to vote all the way down the ballot, because my campaign is entrusted with more resources. In some ways, we're a bit of a representative of the brand of Republican candidates, and I hope that those candidates also feel proud of the way that I've led.
Captain, you've talked about making cost-cutting a central tenet of your campaign, and you've talked about your former business expediting deliveries of medication to veterans. There's a report by 6 medical specialists. It was prepared for the VA secretary, and it says that the privatization that came about as a result of former President Trump's 2018 act is bankrupting the Veterans Administration because they're having trouble reimbursing the 1.6 million private providers. Do you think it's that act is delivering on its promise of providing lower costs and better service to veterans?
I mean, we could probably do a full hour pull aside on veteran health care. What I'll tell you this is that, first of all, I get all of my health care through the VA. And it also should be noted that Senator Rosen was asked specifically if she would ever receive her health care through the VA if it was possible, and she refused to answer that. But I'm, not only am I a proud veteran, I'm a proud veteran who receives my health care through the VA. No hospital system is perfect. In fact, if you took the best non-governmental hospital system in the country and you scaled it to the number of patients, hospitals, and clinics as the VA, we would see all sorts of things that were troubling. But the VA does its best to deliver good health care. At times, the private sector does need to be involved. Oftentimes, it's the bureaucracy that gets in the way and sort of creates friction that either impacts the veterans' health care or leads to these kind of budgetary questions like that. I'll say this. I think we need to see veterans' health care and the results of their health care prioritized, and if that means we need to expand access into the private sector, then we need to do that. But we don't need to dismiss the VA completely either. Chairman, do you have any commentary on VA health?
Oh, well, good grief. We've got a guy here who's spent a lot of years in the VA healthcare system. I'm the son of a U.S. Marine. I'll just say this. What's important is that we give our veterans choice. When we live in larger states like Nevada out west, one of the problems we face is back east there's a lot of population density, smaller states. When you're out in the west, states like Nevada, states like Montana, you don't always have easy access to the VA system because geographically it takes a long time just to get there. And what President Trump did, working with Congress, is to provide more choice. Give the veteran choice. If there's a way to get that care closer to home, to having to travel 100 miles to get help.
Even at a greater cost to the taxpayer.
This is about taking care of the veterans, to give them choice. And look, they've paid the price for this country. We paid the price.
I'll say this, just one last point, is we do have a crisis, at least here in Nevada, and I believe nationally, of not having enough providers. And when we have the rural communities that we have here and clinics are going away, or small kind of doctor practices are going away, that's something that nationally we need to probably consider. What do we do to have more healthcare providers? But that's also a state issue that I know that Governor Lombardo and others are looking at. How do we attract and how do we educate and train more doctors and nurses and other providers?
Last question. Captain, Senator, I do have a question for each of you. I'm Sofia Rodriguez with Univision. Captain, if elected, how would you balance secure U.S. borders with also the fair treatment of immigrants?
Yeah, I mean, again, when we're talking about the border, we need to start with securing the border. One of the crises of this last 4 years, especially, is that so many immigrants have been, have been on the negative end of this crisis. People who have been. We have, I think it's close to 350,000 minors, children who have been brought across our border that we have no idea where they are. We have people who are essentially put into a system of sort of financial slavery to the cartels because they are brought in by the cartels. This is not humane. This is not right, and it starts with having a policy that allows our border to prevent those sorts of criminal activities and crimes against humanity from happening. But at the end of the day, once we secure our border, I do think that we need to relook our immigration policy and make sure that people who are going to be good contributors to the United States of America, good members of society, have an easier way to do that legally, and that we make it harder for people who are criminals or will not be good members of our society and country, to make it harder for them to be able to do it illegally.
Yeah, Senator, we know that Nevada is a key state in this election. Can you address the importance of the state?
Yeah, well, think about the importance of the state of Nevada, but President Trump is here Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
He was just here when?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday. I'm here today. I don't think I have to say a lot more about how important that is.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.